Let's talk to Andrew Griffith, Shadow Business Secretary, of course, for the Conservative Party. Andrew, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Always good to be on the home of common sense.
Absolutely right. Good to see you on a Friday as well, down there in Parliament, because a lot of people think you guys don't work on a Friday, so it's very nice to see you there. Donald, you know, he keeps telling us this is the greatest deal in the history of deals. It's probably the worst deal since the one he made before a couple of days earlier with India, isn't it?
Well, it's certainly not a great deal. It's not a historic deal. It's a deal that still leaves British exporters paying higher tariffs than 2 months ago. I can understand, look, if you're in the car industry and we're looking down the barrel of those 25% tariffs, that you welcome this. But this is a million miles away from being a comprehensive free trade agreement of the sort that we were pursuing. Would do so if we got back into government. We wouldn't have lost the services of Crawford Falconer, our chief negotiator. We'd have got into the room much more quickly after the election, not waited until the inauguration. And it's a big oversell. You could see how needy the Prime Minister was yesterday when he was on the telephone into the Oval Office, referring to the Prime Minister as Donald. Look, the reality is that we need the proper deal, the deal that genuinely reduces tariffs to a position that is lower than when this government came into office, and that's just one of many things that we need to get our economy motoring again. You know, what's he doing about energy? When's he going to reverse the employment rights bill that's going to throw thousands of people out onto the dole?
Yeah, well, you were writing about this and you did a video, I think, with Toby Young this week, didn't you, on the Employment Rights Bill, because part of the Employment Rights Bill is the rights of people in hospitality, particularly, to complain about what they might be overhearing if you happen to be dining in a restaurant or talking to somebody in a pub, which is basically a sort of a ban on banter, isn't it?
Absolutely, you're spot on. It is a ban on banter. It's a ban on things you might overhear. It's not about sexual harassment. It's about literally you can be serving in a pub or a bar or a restaurant or at a sports venue and take offence to something that you overheard that was never meant, never directed at you at all, possibly a T-shirt you're wearing. You know, really chilling, Mike. You know, we one of our fundamental tenets of our society and democracy is freedom of speech. It often doesn't get attacked directly, but through these indirect attacks, such as we see in the banter ban in the Employment Rights Bill, everything that you and I say, sometimes even the things we think, are under real threat.
Yeah, absolutely right. Speaking of some of the things that we think and some of the things that we say, can I play you Lucy Powell's apology from yesterday in the House of Commons? This has been a long time coming, almost a week after she upset an awful lot of people by her comments on Radio 4's Any Questions. Have a look.
Can I actually thank him for raising with me what I said in an episode of Any Questions last week, so I can be absolutely clear with the House today, especially to the victims and survivors of child sexual abuse and grooming gangs, that I am very sorry for those remarks, as I made clear over the weekend. I and every member of this government want your truth to be heard, wherever that truth leads. Your truly appalling experiences need to be acted on, for those responsible to be accountable and face the full force of the law, and for justice to be served.
Yeah, I mean, she says she's sorry, but I don't really believe that she is. A lot of people were calling for her resignation last weekend. Are you surprised that she's still in office?
Look, we're all human. Fine to apologise, but the key thing is it's actions, not words, Mike. So if she's really sorry, right, if she never meant to say it, and many people think that that is what she said is precisely the view of the Labour government, but if she really didn't mean to say it, and she's generally contrite and sorry, then will she get behind calling for and supporting, because she is, after all, the leader of the Commons, will she, sits around the cabinet table with her friend Keir, will she now ensure that we get the national inquiry into grooming gangs that we have never had, a national inquiry that will reveal the cover-up that may or may not implicate various local leaders and politicians and the people at the top of the system in these areas, and will she make sure that we get that inquiry quickly and that it reports back?
Yes, I think the answer to that is probably
I think we
no.
probably know the answer.
No.
We probably notice the answer to some of those things, don't we? But
No on all counts. The other thing for Starmer, the problem is going to rank up over the course of the next week or two, I would imagine. A lot of people in his own party now calling for him to reverse ferret on the disability allowance decision that's been made to take disability benefit from people. Also, it costs now more money for migrants to live in this country, £4 million a day, than any kind of money they're going to get back from the winter fuel allowance. They were offered the opportunity to reverse that. They still haven't. You know, Starmer's in a lot of trouble here, isn't he?
look, no one, I'm the shadow business secretary, right, Mike? Nobody says to me the problem with the UK is that we don't spend enough public money, we don't increase the borrowing, and we don't tax our people too little, right? So what this government has to confront is that by their decisions, the choices they've made, they're spending too much of taxpayers' money on things that they shouldn't be spending money on, and as a result, they're taxing everyone till the pips squeak, including businesses, including things like the family business death tax, that's really hurting the economy. We're not growing. If you don't grow, you don't have a proposition for our children and our children's children.
Yeah, I mean, how much time do you think Starmer's going to want to have in order to turn this economy around? Because frankly, it's going down the gurgler faster than you can say Rachel Reeves.
It is. Look, I'm incredibly worried about the state of the economy. People are literally fleeing our country because they see better opportunities and the opportunity to keep more of what they earn elsewhere. They're destroying the incentives to build a business, to take risk by things like the family business death tax. You know, who's going to set up a business and try and pass that on to the next generation if all that happens is the state confiscates a huge part of that when you die? So I'm really worried about the economy. It's not a question about how much, you know, Starmer wants. It's that we need action right now. One of the things they could do tomorrow is ditch the disastrous unemployment rights bill. It's going to put people out of work. It's going to make employers' job that much harder. It's a $5 billion headwind cost on business at a time that they're already reeling from so many things, including the tariffs, which this deal yesterday doesn't remove for most businesses in this country.
No, exactly right. Good to see you, Andrew. Thank you very much indeed. Andrew Griffith MP, Shadow Business Secretary, talking about the woeful nature of this Labour government. Yes, you might say that the Tories weren't much better, but they actually were quite a lot better. The fact is that they seemed like the worst government in history until we got this one. And this one, I have to tell you, is really awful.